morning, everyone. Today's news is about the most catastrophic natural disaster in the United States, Hurricane Katrina. That terrible hurricane ended yesterday, but it ended with terrible damage. Citizens say that it was the worst hurricane that has had in the United States. That enormous hurricane hit the Gulf Coast, and it is the third deadliest hurricane in American history after Hurricane Camille 1969. Government weather reported that Katrina's sustained wind speed was approximately 200 kilometers an hour. A storm passed directly through New Orleans, destroying many lighter buildings and causing extensive damage to others. Thousands of people have evacuated New Orleans, but there are 469,000 residents of the city and another million people who live around it. But we have no idea how many of those people have gone. And we do know that thousands of people, as we mentioned, they're taking refuge today at the Superdome, the biggest, strongest structure in New Orleans. Angie is there, and Angie, what was the damage in New Orleans and places around there? And what's going on?
We also have the report of damage harassed by the hurricane as they are. The first is most of the city major roads were damaged. It was also reported that most of the windows on the north side of the Heights Regency in New Orleans had been blown out, and many other high-rise buildings had extensive window damage. For other part, the population has been so affected that is fear to reach dehydration and food poisons. And there also is a possibility to appear hepatitis A, cholera, tuberculosis, and a type of fever. This is terrible for this city in this moment for that disaster. Other hand legal medicine officials say that the death toll for world disaster was 1,464 people. On some survivors and evacuees also reported seeing corpses in the streets of the city and floating in section still floated.
We are facing a storm that most of us have feared. I do not want to create panic, but I do want the citizens to understand that this is very serious.
In the hours before the storm hit and then after it left, when the levels filed and everything changed, people who remained in New Orleans streamed toward a place where usually they would go to watch football. The massive structure in the city held the Superdome. As one the largest structure in the city, evacuees were brought to the Superdome to wait out the storm or to await further evacuation. And many others made their way to the Superdome on their own, hoping to find food, water, and shelter or transport out of town for this disaster has terrible. For instance, the President George Bush support to help those affected and say that he signed disaster declaration for Louisiana and Mississippi. For instance, let's take a step for a hurricane effect where she told us about the evacuation.
We don't know what we're going to do yet. They gave us very little options. The one place they said to go is the Superdome, but you have to have 3 days worth of food and water, and if you don't have anything, I mean, how are you going to do that?
And yet somehow, a natural disaster spirals into an unnatural human catastrophe.
No water, no food.
We don't have a home.
We lost everything.
Why does it take so long to respond to the cries for help? Who makes the decisions and why?
People got to do something. You ain't got no more food.
We got babies out here. We got handicapped people.
On the floor, she's dying right now. 2 people died already.
Where's the people? Where's the mail?
Please, somebody.
We need some help out here.
Get out of here. We want to get out of here.
Today, some 80% of the city is underwater. And what a disaster! Katrina has caused the largest numbers of casualties, the highest death toll, and the greatest destruction in America. You know, people told us that we didn't know. I don't know, it's impossible to know if the hurricane continue, if the hurricane return, yeah? And we must be sure to have a lot of things with us. For example, a first aid kit with a lot of things, with flashlight, with non-perishable food, with batteries, yeah? I don't know, with radio to know what happened, what's going on. And because we need to be safe, yeah? And yes, that's a terrible news, that's a terrible situation now, and this is a morning's news.